All right, well, I'm just going to jump in and maybe a few more folks will join us soon. But first and foremost, thanks so much for joining us today. I know it's a really busy time of year, and we're really excited that you could be here with us and that you're showing us so much excitement about the next system, Teachins. As we get started here, just so you know how this is going to work, and if you haven't been on webinars on air before with us, you'll see on the left-hand side there's a box to ask questions, and we definitely encourage you to ask questions anytime, and we will try to get to as many of them as we can. There's also on the right-hand side a chat window where you can chat with others and add information about what you're interested in and what you respond to. And also for those folks who couldn't come but that you might have been in touch with, this will all be videoed and we'll have it up online later so that it's a reference for those who couldn't make it today. So I'm Dana Brown. I'm the National Teachins Coordinator here at the Next System Project, and just wanted to take this opportunity to give you guys a little bit of information about what we're trying to do with these teach-ins and how you can engage, what the next steps are, and how we can have a really explosive and exciting spring semester. So I'm going to try to pull up a presentation here, and hopefully you guys can all see the PowerPoint, and I will walk you through that real quick. And then we'll get on to introducing our Teachins coordinators in New York City and Madison, Wisconsin, who have already hit the ground running and have some great stuff planned there. And then we're saving the best for last. We have Lisa Smithline with us from the documentary film Boom Bust Boom, who's going to talk about one of the fantastic documentaries that you can bring to your campus or community in coordination with the teach-ins. It's a really great tool to get people engaged and to talk about these issues. So bear with me for 1 second, and I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint. Okay. I think I've got it, but I'll talk slowly in case you can't see everything at the moment. So first, I guess you're probably already here because you know what a teach-in is and why you're excited about them, but real quick reminder, teach-ins are practical, participatory, and action-oriented events that provide a space for study and debate and organizing around pressing social, political, and economic issues. And a teach-in could take on many different forms. So depending on the needs of your community, your campus, it could be a large-scale event with debates and discussions. It could be a smaller workshop or a set of workshops. It could be creative actions on your campus where you engage passersby in conversation about issues that are important on your campus right now. You could take over the main plaza or square on your school and perform songs or street theater about system change, critique the current system, and talk about what you want in a new system. So there are many different ways to do this, and we want to help you find a forum that's most appropriate for your campus. We're also, like I said, really pleased to be able to offer several documentaries that you can screen as part of a teach-in, and we're going to produce discussion guides to accompany each one of those films. So another really powerful, but hopefully easy for you, way to engage would be to bring one or more of these films to your campus, download the discussion guide, and hold a discussion on your campus to get reactions from people and see what they think about the material that's been presented. So that's more or less what a teach-in is, and we can talk a little bit more about that as we go. Looking next at why next system teach-ins. So our thinking is it's time. The system we live in was designed to meet the needs of a very few of us, and we think it's time to come together and talk about what we want instead. We've seen a fantastic wave of protests and actions in the last few years, from the recent Black Lives Matter protests and teach-ins on campuses, fossil fuel divestment campaign, student debt strikes, so many other actions. We've been seeing a lot of these events about what we don't want or what we're not satisfied with in the current system, but we're not seeing so much large-scale events that propose system-wide solutions that these protests have been pointing out. For instance, just this past weekend, there was an ad in the New York Times about a billion people march, in which Adbusters magazine put out a call very much like they did right before Occupy Wall Street, asking people to come out into the streets and to protest what they think is wrong with the current system. And while this is really engaging and fascinating, and I hope it gets a lot of people thinking, we want to help you get your communities, thinking about one step further. If and when we start to change what we see now, what do we want instead, and how are we going to build it in our particular communities? Where's a good place to start? So that's the idea, and we're really glad that you're here with us. In terms of practical steps, if you want to find an existing Teachin or hook up with people that have already self-identified as interested in this movement, I think that all of you have been to our website, but if you haven't, it's on the beginning and the end of the slideshow, and I'll make sure you have that information, teachins.thenextsystem.org. And when you go to that site, you'll see this is a screenshot of one of the pages. When you're on the main page, you'll see this Get Involved tab at the top, and under it, you'll see the option Find a Teachin. When you click that link, you'll see this map that you've got on your screen right now. And at the moment, you see there's 5 Teachins around the country that are already officially registered with us. You can click on any one of those, RSVP for it, offer to volunteer, ask a question of the host, or otherwise engage. So if you click on that map and you see there's not a Teachin near you and you want to be involved in getting one off the ground, we definitely want to hear from you. So that's the next step. You might be asking yourself, yeah, this sounds good to me, but I don't know what they want. What's next? So next is sign up. Make sure you've registered on the website. That's how we have your information and we can be in touch, and we can make sure that as we update our materials, you get access to them, that we can put you in touch with other people in your area. And as you'll see next, we'll look at it in a moment, but there are a whole host of resources on the website that include suggestions about different formats that might work for your particular community. And you'll see there's a link right here to a how-to guide. It's just a simple one-page document that walks you through the basic steps for putting on a Teachin on your campus or in your community. Thinking about the format, reserving a room, finding co-sponsors, doing publicity, it's all in there, but we're also here anytime if you want to ask us questions and get advice about how to make it work in your community. And you'll see the last thing I put is learn from and get inspired by others around the country, because as we'll get into in a moment, we have 2 inaugural Teachins that are already in motion in New York City and Madison, Wisconsin, and we'll have our coordinators, Cassie and Leia, talk to you guys in a second about all the great ideas that have been coming out of the woodwork there. So, like I said, I'll pass it on to them in a moment, but you'll see their links here to the pages about the Teachins that they've got going. And you're welcome to RSVP for one or both of those if you happen to be in those areas. But we'll also get information to you soon. We're hoping to videotape and or potentially live stream at least one of the sessions from each of those Teachins. And then we'll make sure that all that information gets up on the website as well, so that you can be inspired, you can hear the conversation get started and kind of bring the next step of that conversation to your campus. You can ask questions as those Teachins are going on. And the other thing we're going to do is take all of the learning from those Teachins and feed it back to you. So if great ideas come up, if questions come up in the final session, wrap up, and next steps of either one of those Teachins, we can present them back to you, and maybe that can be the jumping off point for a conversation on your campus or your community. As I mentioned on the website, there's also a whole toolkit. At the moment, there's several resources there, and over the coming months, we're going to put more and more up there. So we really recommend that you check back regularly. If there's a resource that you'd like and you don't see, please let us know. We're happy to find it. And you'll see that for the moment, the materials that we have are organized in 3 subject areas. So talking about systems and systems change is a big thing, and we know that it can potentially be overwhelming. So to make it easier to find a way to engage with people and to sort of meet them where they're at with the issues that make most sense to them, the things they read about in the newspaper every day, like I said, we've got the materials organized in these 3 different subject areas. That's climate, energy, and environment on the one hand, economic democracy, and then equity and justice for oppressed communities. So each of those on the Toolkits page of the website has a framing document that sort of tells you why we think that's an important area of work and how it fits into the system that we live in right now, but also what alternative systems we might want to live in and how we might get there. And for each of those framing documents, there's also a corresponding couple of workshops or toolkits that you can download right away and print out and use on your campus tomorrow or in April when you do a teach-in. And then there's a whole extra section with tips for facilitators, links to other websites for inspiring actions and ideas about sort of next system models. And over the coming months, like I said, we're going to put a whole bunch more information up there. We're working with several theorists and activists around the country who have been working for a long time to present very complete models of different socioeconomic and political systems. And as we get and consolidate that information, we're going to put it out there as well so that you can host a debate or talk about which model might work best in your community or in your state. And again, we want to offer that all up to you, but also let us know what would be interesting and useful for this kind of work in your community. And then, as I mentioned before, I'm really excited to be able to offer some great documentary films to you guys as a way to engage in this discussion. So there's a multimedia page on the website to screen these films, and you'll see links at the moment to these 4 different documentaries. And as I mentioned, soon we'll have discussion guides available to download as well. And after the teach-ins in New York and Madison, we'll also probably have more videos, some audio photos from those teach-ins, which we can put up as well to have as another tool. So that's it. I don't want to spend too much more time presenting. I want to hear from you and be able to answer your questions. But just know this is the basic contact information. My email, you're welcome to reach out to me. The web page, which I think is probably the best way to communicate with us because it can put you in touch with others in your area and everyone can engage in conversation and answer questions. But also, I will make sure that there's the video of this, but I can send out the PowerPoint as well if that's helpful to people. So, okay. So that's it for me right now, and I want to pass it on to Cassie and then to Leia to tell us a little bit about the teach-ins that they've got going in Madison and New York. So Cassie, if you could just tell us a little bit about what people are doing in Madison and maybe sort of as you've been talking to them about these ideas, what is it that's been most interesting? What's piqued people's interest? What are they excited about being a part of? And then maybe kind of any obstacles you've come across or anything you've learned in this process that might be helpful to others.
Yeah, thanks, Dana. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Again, I'm Cassie. I'm calling from Madison, Wisconsin, and I'm helping coordinate the teaching here. I'm really excited to see this come together. We've been working with a diverse coalition of people ranging from issues on racial equality to climate justice, and seeing all these pieces come together has been the most exciting part for sure. The thing that people seem to be the most excited about, again, is that collaboration. So seeing these dots become connected through all these different issue areas. So a lot of folks working on climate justice really wish that they had more connections to the racial justice movement, and the Next Systems Project seems to be a way for those connections to start being made and for a broader system change rather than issue changes seem to be already coming out of this with increased communication among all these different activists in Madison. Something else that folks really seem excited about has been the process of highlighting not just kind of these bigger theoretical, big-name personality scholar voices, but also giving a space for those who are typically underrepresented to really talk about solutions that they want and need that can be utilized in Madison and that already are being talked about and being implemented. But this provides a space for it to be brought into kind of that progressive scholar circle that doesn't always connect all of the pieces. And so it's been those connections and the ability to highlight diverse voices that's been the most exciting part throughout the process. The most challenging part is that because so many of the folks we work with are really passionate about their select issues that they work on, focusing on overall system takes a little bit of introduction and a little bit of talking about how we can get there. That's been the biggest question for us is, okay, we know we don't want to talk and talk and talk about all the issues. We want to talk about solutions, but what do those look like? How do we get there? And that conversation has presented a lot of challenges, but has also been really rewarding. So that's been some highlights. We're also really excited because we are utilizing art in our Teachin. So we'll have poets, potentially an open mic night, and then throughout the weekend something that we're creating together that's visual. And we haven't figured out if that's kind of a grassroots magazine or if that's a big banner or a video. We don't know what that looks like, but we know that we want to create a visual representation of this collaboration. So those are some of the highlights that we're really excited about here in Madison.
Fantastic. And maybe let's just jump to Leia in New York, get her presentation, and then take any questions that have come up so far for any of us before we dive into the excellent films that we've got. So, Leia? I think you're...
Yeah. Hi, everybody. So I'm in New York City, and I've been organizing with a great group of folks here Teachin that will be held March 10th through March 12th in New York. March 11th and March 12th are the Friday and Saturday, and those will be kind of like the bulk of workshops where a lot of interesting generative work happens. That will be at the Murphy Institute, and we'll be kicking off with a plenary on the evening of March 10th, which will have panels or a panel, expert panel, plenary style thing. Anyway, so it's been really, really interesting. People are really excited. There's a lot of energy around, as Cassie was saying, bringing these different pieces of the next system puzzle together. There's a lot of work that's always happening in New York. There are a lot of moving pieces, too many moving pieces to really bring together at any given time. And a lot of people are seeking that kind of like that opportunity to get connected with the other pieces of the puzzle and actually see where they fit into this large kind of next system vision, because people can get really in the weeds with their own work. So it's helpful to have this space to kind of step back and see what it is we're building all together. And so people have been really, really excited about it. The challenges are, getting everybody into that same space. I mean, now as we're really starting to kind of bang out the agenda, which has been really exciting, and as we get into a concrete space, I think a lot of people are getting really amped up for the event. But it's also making it clear just how little time, even 2 days can really, how little content can actually fit into 2 days. So how intentional we have to be about how we craft the agenda in order to make it as useful for people as possible. So how do we strike the right balance of pre-programmed content and content that is allowed to self-generate in this space so that we can really lead to outcomes that maybe take us to places that we didn't necessarily anticipate going when we started. And so I'm in a particularly excited place right now because we had a great meeting yesterday in which I think that we have started to actually figure out how we're going to concretely strike that balance. And yeah, in New York, it's a tough town. It's a great town because there's so much happening all at once. but figuring out how to make it clear that there is a unique value add of this space for people who are doing a million projects at once. Even if they're excited about the idea of integration, it's like, okay, but what's going to happen there? How is this actually going to be useful? And that's been a really great question to get asked, because that has forced us to really work through how we're going to make it as useful for people as possible. And maybe the time that we all get into the room together is just this event. And in the planning, we have to kind of do a bunch of one-off phone calls and smaller meetings. And not everybody is meeting to plan the thing, but we'll all be meeting at the event itself. So things are really exciting, and I'm happy to answer any questions about more specific challenges or successes we've had so far.
Fantastic. Thanks to both of you. I don't see any questions popping up just yet, and maybe that's because at the end of the year and everybody's just struggling to get everything on their to-do list done. That's totally fine. But please pop in if you do have questions, either on the left-hand side in the little Q&A box or on the right hand in the chat. I'll just say a couple more words at the moment since I've got you. I just wanted to underline again why we think Teachins are such an important forum in which to engage people. I think there are a couple of levels on which we are really excited about this initiative. One is that there's such a great history of Teachins in this country, from back against the protests against the Vietnam War. Teachins on college campuses were really one of those things that helped catalyze action and discussion, and on a national level. And we've seen that over and over and over again, the democracy teach-ins in the 90s. In the last year, teach-ins on Black Lives Matter. Currently, there are campuses in which students are organizing to do everything from taking the name away from a building named after a slave owner to kicking their university president out because of racist policies. And a lot of that's provided the backbone to those movements are what we would think of as teach-ins. It's students and faculty and staff getting together and saying, what are the most pressing issues of the day and how are we going to attack them? What do we want? And kind of reclaiming that space. Another thing is that institutes of higher education are a microcosm of the system in which we live. And so at the moment, I think they reflect a lot of the values of the current system. They are more and more for-profit. It's a place that's being corporatized constantly, and I think students are really catching on to that, whether it's because they're suffering the consequences of crippling debt, or they're seeing the class offerings that they are receiving have a lot more to do with perpetuating those ideals than really asking them to think. So we're very excited about using the university as a forum, again, for catalyzing discussion about not only what we might not like about the current system, but what else could we do? The university should be a forum for creative thinking, and when you have all those fantastic engaged minds together, you should be able to use that forum as a place to figure out. Sorry, I'm just having a problem seeing a question that's popped up, so I got distracted for a moment. I'm just going to make sure that I've enabled questions so that I can get all of your questions and then answer them. Oh, okay. So just to finish my thought, we're really excited about reclaiming the university or campus spaces in general as a place to generate creative ideas, viable alternatives, and then figure out how to put them in practice. The last thing I'll say before I get to your questions is that as I've been working with Leia and Cassie in Madison and New York, some really fantastic ideas have come up. In both of those communities, there are a lot of what we think of as alternative institutions and projects that really are working to implement alternatives to the pressing problems of the day in the community. But as we started to talk to people one-on-one or in groups, we realized there were also some holes. Maybe there were people who wanted to build a cooperative business so that they could build wealth in a community that had been economically depressed, but they didn't have access to credit. And then we went and talked to folks who worked on the credit side of things, and we realized those two communities weren't talking to one another. So again, we're hoping that potentially these teach-ins could be a forum for bringing together people who want different things in the world, but might not have figured out so far on the systemic level how we all work on those things together. So just to put that out there. I see there's a great question, which is, will the teach-in sessions be live streamed? That's something we're working on right now. We hope so. We're just checking out the different technological possibilities in the rooms that have been reserved, and figuring out who we might work with on the ground. But yes, the aim is to live stream at least the opening plenaries of these two teach-ins in New York and Madison, and hopefully video some other sessions, but we'll also have to make sure people are comfortable with that. There might be folks that are participating in particular workshops that wouldn't want to show up on a video for whatever reason, so that's something that we want to be aware of, but we will try to make as much of the content available as possible to you guys. So thanks for that question. And again, others, please feel free to jump in with questions anytime, but now I'm really excited to take advantage of the fact that we have Lisa Smithline with us, and I'm going to turn it over to her. I see other questions popping up. Sorry. That's a great question. Sorry, I got a question about the core group of folks who started the Next System project and the teach-ins. And let me give a quick answer to that, and then I'll hand it over to you, Lisa. Sorry, and then we can talk more about it if there are other questions. Just to say that the Next System project is the project that employs folks like me, and it's a group that works on many levels to help us as a country answer that question about what might we like after this particular socioeconomic political system that we have right now, if we are discontented with it. We have academics doing research. We work with activists on the ground who are pushing communities to do and try new things. And we're also trying to bridge those gaps that might exist between academics and activists and community development finance corporations and all the different pieces that we see moving in action to try to build a different and better world. And we're also, as well as with these teach-ins and other campaigns, trying to help bring that conversation to a larger forum. It seems to us that there's something happening, that it's a moment that changes in the air. I think we see with the success of Bernie Sanders' campaign, but also with so many other actions going on, that people want change, but that we as a country don't necessarily have a consensus about what that looks like. So we have to start having those conversations, and that's really where you guys come in. Hosting that conversation on your campus or in your community is a way to start that conversation, which absolutely addresses the next question I got, which was, can we host a community teach-in, a community-based version of a teach-in, not just on campus? And the answer is absolutely. We are not trying to stifle anyone's creativity here, and we are quite happy to help provide materials and resources and get teach-ins going on in communities as well. It can be in community centers, union halls, places of worship. We just figured we're a small staff. We would start with one thing, and that's campuses. But we love the idea that there are already people out there offering to host teach-ins in community-based locations. So yeah, we will do everything to support those as well. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa Smithline from the fantastic documentary Boom Bust Boom, and have her talk to you guys a little bit about why they wanted to be involved with this initiative and why the documentary might be an excellent tool to help engage your community in discussion about these issues.
Hello, hopefully my internet will not crash. Are we good? Okay, good. So I hope you can hear me, and I hope that my internet will stay active and cooperative for the few minutes that I'm here with you. And I'm super excited to be with you. When Dana approached us, it seemed like a dream come true. You were talking the same language that we've been thinking about, and the film, which I hope all of you have been able to see, at least the trailer, or look at it. If not, I know it's all up on the website, the Teachin website. and we're excited to be part of a group of other terrific films that are one of the great resources as part of your teach-ins. So a little bit of history. This film was made as a result of a conversation that happened between Terry Jones from Monty Python and Theo Kraken, who is a basically that why are these booms and busts happening, and why in fact that they're happening, do they keep happening, and why do we keep having the same sorts of economic analysis that doesn't explain at all what's going on. And so you would think it's kind of odd that a Python and an economist would be talking, but what came out of it is this quite fun, a little bit irreverent, a little bit absurd, but really quite deep and informative documentary that involves talking heads, as all documentaries do, but there's also puppets, there's song, there's cartoons, and there's a lot of other elements that make it something that we feel is a great entry point for people to talk about economics and talk about how it's impacting our lives. And the reason we're so excited to be part of these teach-ins is because our primary goal, or I should say the primary goal of the entire production, is to change the way economics are taught and thought about. We feel very strongly that the way economics are taught is incorrect, that they have an established and accepted way of theory and analysis, and then they explain away all the reasons it doesn't work, rather than incorporating other analysis that does in fact work. So there's an ongoing campaign that will be that is being started by Rethinking Economics and Post-Crash Society, and they'll be ongoing in a way to hopefully help incorporate all of you and anybody that's participating in teach-ins in putting pressure on economic departments so that they can start teaching a more realistic and a more integrated, systemic way of learning about and teaching and analyzing economics. So that's enough about the content of the film. The good part is that any films that are good and that relate can be a wonderful addition to your teach-ins, especially when you've got something to, something like this. It's kind of a fun thing to publicize. Film is a little bit different than lectures and panels. That's not that they're not all wonderful, but it can be fun and a fun way to bring people in. And so we're excited to offer the film. We're starting actually. We're really excited because the U.S. launch of the film is on March 11th, which is right with the March date that Leia is organizing, and so we're super excited to be part of that and to have you be part of our launch. It's really wonderful. And then in Madison, Cassie, you and I haven't spoken, but I'd be thrilled to also add that opportunity if you're interested. And then I don't know who I'm speaking to out there, but anybody else. I don't know if how you reach me yet through the website. I know through the Teach-In website you can reach me. We're a little behind you. We don't have all our resources, but we too are developing discussion guides and packets that can help specifically with film as an organizing resource, an organizing tool. And I'm very happy to answer any and all questions about that, how it's done, how it's organized, all the details, what makes it fun, what makes it easy, what makes it successful. I've been doing that for a while, so I'd be happy to really help in any of those regards with your organizers or with anybody that comes on board afterwards. So I hope I've answered or given enough information, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Fantastic, Lisa. And I'm just really thrilled you're able to be here with us today and share that enthusiasm. For those of you who haven't had a chance to see the trailer yet, you can see it on our website under, like I said, there's that tab that says show one of these films. And there's also, you can go to the Boom Bust Boom website I was thinking of trying to show it to you guys right now, but it looks a little bit complicated with me, for me with the technology here. But I'll make sure that everybody knows where to see that on the website. I highly recommend you take a look because it's a documentary that manages to be like it's really fantastic to have this opportunity that Boom Bust Boom is putting out there, because they're making it very easy for you to bring this documentary to your campus or your community as a way to start conversation. So I recommend you take advantage of that. Are there any other questions for us? Please feel free to put something in the chat or in the question box. This is great, and I'll just assume if there are no more questions that everybody's ready to host a teacher in their community. Really, again, I thank everybody for taking time out at a time of the year like this. I know people are getting ready for holidays and finals and all of that. So we are thrilled to have you here, and we're very excited about getting you on board to host a teach-in in whatever format that might be in your community. And in the coming weeks, we will definitely be sending out more information about the teach-ins in Madison and New York, which are our inaugural teach-ins, so that you can figure out how to engage with those even if you aren't in one of those two cities. And as we get you guys and others on board to host teach-ins in your communities or on your campuses, those will start popping up on that map. So please remember to keep looking back at the website. We are in conversations at the moment with people in places everywhere from here, Georgetown here in DC, to Northeastern, University of Pittsburgh, the 5 colleges in Northampton, Massachusetts, a few places in California. So it's really exciting to see all that energy. We've been contacted by high school teachers, by folks at community colleges, adult education centers, and I, for one, am really heartened to see how many people want to be doing this work and getting the people around them to start thinking about viable alternatives and how to take the next step in their community. I am really excited to see people from every single one of the cities that I have lived in this country signing up and contacting us and wanting to continue conversations. So I'm just thrilled to have you here today, and can't wait to take the next steps. We will be doing another kind of push and getting more information out there in early to mid-January as the year kind of gears up and people are back on their campuses. But please do not hesitate to contact us in the meantime. I think the website's probably the easiest way, but like I said, there also my email is at the end of that PowerPoint, which I will make sure gets sent around. And just, Leia, in case you didn't see it, one of the participants here, Edward Dodson, has written that he has a lot of contacts in New York and will encourage them to get involved. So I will make sure you two are linked through the website so you can follow up with him if he doesn't get back to you soon. That's my role. I'm here to make sure everybody does their work. So if you need anything from anyone in Madison or New York, call on me. If there are no more questions, please, jump in there with a question or a comment if you want to. If not, we'll just hold on for a couple of minutes in case anybody else chimes in. But if not, we'll let you off early. And thank you again for coming and being a part of this today. Let me just ask one more time if Leia or Cassie or Lisa have anything else to add, since we have a couple extra minutes. If anyone wants to jump in, I don't want to. Someone asked for Lisa's contact information. I think the easiest way, just for like internet safety and all of that, would be to contact her through the website. If it's not up at the moment, I'll make sure that in the next day there's just a button to click on the website under the trailer that will say, contact us here. So the idea is to link directly from the trailer to the folks at Boom Bust Boom, because I'm not always sure it would be Lisa anyway. There might be a couple of people, depending on the day or whatever, who'd respond to your email. So we'll make sure that that link gets up there ASAP. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So unless another question pops up for the next 5 seconds, I'll just thank you so much for being here and for sharing your enthusiasm and your questions with us, and we will be in touch very soon. All right. Take care, everybody. Happy holidays, and thanks again. Bye-bye.